We'll be talking about the meaning of biomagnification and duration of exposure as related to toxicology in biochemistry. So one thing is, let me just tell you something. Any question on toxicology in a biochemistry exam is like a bonus, all right? Because toxicology is something that we know in our day-to-day life. Okay. So the full question was what briefly write on the following toxicological what terms: biomagnification and duration. So one thing you must note in this question is they are not asking you to define, they're asking you to write. Now, when they ask you to write, it's actually a trap because they know this question is simple. They want you to write. Now, writing is what you actually exhaust everything you know about that concept. It's not all about answering, it's about what, how do they even call it? It's about a impressing the examiner. All right, you have to impress the examiner. I want to show them that you actually know this. All right, so biomagnification is the one we are starting with. All right, when we talk about biomagnification, then we'll talk about duration of exposure. So for biomagnification, there's ways in which we talk about it: the definition, the mechanism, the examples, the consequences. So make everything brief, brief, brief. Okay, under and write the headings. Write the headings. Okay, arrange your work. Okay, so in toxicology now, biomagnification refers to the process by which toxins, particularly persistent organic pollutants, some pollutants like, let me say, if a cow eats them, the body of the cow can break them down. So you eating cow meat, you might not even get the pollutants, but you have some pollutants that are persistent. And if the cow eats them, they get stored in the meat of the cow. If you don't cook the meat well, they can get transferred to you. Do you understand? So it is a process by which toxins, particularly persistent organic pollutants, accumulate and increase in concentration as they move up the food chain. Do you understand? So they are actually what, accumulating from water to the planktons to the aquatic insects, okay, to the fish that is eating the insect, to the fish that will eat the fish, to the human being that is finally eating the fish. Okay, so it's just accumulating as it moves up the food chain. Why is it accumulating? It is accumulating because these planktons are infected by the toxin. These insects will eat the plankton and will also feed on the water. So the insect is getting toxins from the plankton, also getting from the water. So it's now accumulating up the food chain. Okay. So what are the mechanisms? Bioaccumulation is what important. Bioaccumulation, we say that what toxins accumulate in the organism over time, and the toxins are not being broken down. Okay. So if I have the toxins as what 60% of it, if you eat me, I'm giving you the 60%. Do you understand? So it's accumulating. Okay. So food chain transfer, toxins will now pass from one organism to another through consumption. Okay. As you eat the other one, you get it. As I eat the other person, I get it. Do you understand? As you go up the food chain. What are the examples of toxins? Okay. All right. So what are the examples of these toxins? It could be mercury. All right. It could be the dichloro diphenyl trichloroethane. Please, it's an exam. Don't use abbreviations. Don't use abbreviations. You must more write everything in full. All right. Or if you want to show the examiner that you know the abbreviation, write DDT and write in bracket, write the full thing. Okay. So the full meaning of DDT is what? Dichloro diphenyl trichloroethane. Okay. There could also be the PCBs. Full meaning of PCB is what? Polychlorinated biphenyls. Okay. What are the consequences? There's increased toxicity. There's ecological harm. There's what? Human health risk. Okay. Could lead to what? Possibilities of getting some one or two diseases like that. Okay. Then looking at the duration of exposure. Right. So duration of exposure is actually one of the factors that affect toxicity. So several other factors include, you see duration of factor here, duration of exposure there, the amount of the toxin, the route of exposure. Was it through your skin or through your mouth? Do you understand? Route of exposure. Absorption. How fast is the toxin absorbed? The frequency of exposure. How often are you exposed to the toxin? Do you understand? But here we are now picking just one of the factors I'm talking about it. I brought this picture here because you should know that there are other four factors. So they can now coin another question on this toxicity, but they are not using duration of exposure. So try to know these other ones too, please. All right. So what is the duration of exposure? Is the length of time an organism is exposed to a toxin, is to a toxic substance. How long? Because uh, how long you are exposed to the toxin will actually what determine the effect of that thing on you. Do you understand? So, what are the factors influencing duration, dose, and concentration? Let me say, for example, I'm exposed to 5 mils of something for 10 hours. Then I'm exposed to 500 mils of that thing for 10 hours. Of course, the 500 mils will cause more problem. Do you understand? So, dose and concentration, frequency and pattern of exposure. Am I exposed steadily, or am I exposed like the thing is coming, is going, it's coming, is going? Do you understand? Then the route of exposure. Did I actually inhale it? Did I swallow it through the mouth? Did it actually penetrate my skin? Different routes of exposure. Then individual susceptibility. Now I'm talking about how stubborn your immune system is, right? Because I might be exposed to the same chemical and I'm doing odeshi, like there's no problem. And you might be exposed to the same chemical and it's a problem for you. Do you understand? So those are the factors. Then types of exposure. Acute exposure is a short term, high dose. Chronic exposure is what? Long term, low dose. Do you understand? Acute is something that is just all of a sudden. Chronic is something that has been there for a while. Okay? Then subchronic exposure is intermediate duration. Like it's not really short, it's not really long, right? What are the effects of durations? It will affect the level at which the toxin is accumulated in your body. It will increase the risk of adverse effect. Okay, if you are exposed for a very long time, the effect is more. Exposed for a short time, the effect is less, and all that. It will enhance sensitivity, the latent effect. Okay, so that's it for the uh, meanings of what biomagnification and what duration of exposure as what related to toxicology biochemistry.